Well, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me for a few moments. I have accomplished a little bit this week, so I'll show you what I've been working on. I'd also like to take the time to show you how I'm doing my bench work. I picked the general idea up from a friend of mine, and I like the access that it gives me to wiring. Being 6'5" and 77, I don't like crawling around on the floor and doing stuff up overhead any more than absolutely necessary. And with 2 layers of bench work to get in underneath that top one to do wiring, that's not necessarily going to work either. But before I get up off my stool here, I want to point out my walkthrough that I said I was having problems with. I got a little start on trying to get that corrected. And the first thing I realized I needed to do was to get this side and that side at the same level. So I've got my laser level set up, and I think at this point I've got my bench work so they're matched up for level. That will help run track across and not have some kind of a peak in it, which I think was part of my problem before. So having said that, let's go take a look at the bench work. I'm going to turn that off. So I've got the foam on my south yard, upper and lower levels. One of my concerns was, is that foam going to be rigid enough? So I've placed one of my biggest locomotives on track and some road bed, and I'm going to let it sit there for a while. I have put a level across there, and I don't see any sag to the foam this early. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, and I always like to know, so what kind of space are people working with when they get things put together? So the upper layer is 20 inches deep, 23 feet long. The lower level is 26 inches deep, 23 feet long. So once I get going on that and get stuff in there, you'll have a sense as to what can be put in that kind of space, I hope. I've forgotten what my distance is between the two. I think I have 16 inches of clearance there. So when I'm down here, I can see underneath there. And I say down there, originally I put my whole layout down at 30 inches with the thought that, oh boy, I've got 3 grandkids interested in trains, and I want them to be able to walk around and see what's going on. I don't want it up over their heads. Well, that didn't last very long. Now they're into baseball and other things, and of course they live in California and North Carolina, so they're not here on a regular basis. So, that worked out good because I don't like standing for very long. And so, there's a chair there, but I have some stools. I have 2 stools on casters. That one I made myself. And then I've got 2 office chairs that I took the backs off from that I can roll around from job to job, at least in one particular location, without having to stand for very long. So bench work. I've got 1x3s. I am fortunate. Guy that rents my land for hay, now that I'm not raising my draft horses and doing hay anymore, we bartered a bit, and he's let me use his sawmill, and I've got plenty of white pines. So I've got all the lumber that I'll ever need, and then some. I've recited my 1860s barn with it, and so on and so forth. But anyway, so I've got this type of bench work secured to the wall, to studs. I have an L girder underneath, and that L girder is in from the front far enough that when I'm sitting on this stool, my knees do not hit the L girder or the leg. And once I get doing trains, this stuff will not be there. It's just there for convenience while I'm constructing. You'll also notice that my connector on the front is horizontal. This way I can sit there on my stool and I can do wiring right there in front of me. I can see it. Wires will go through the holes from one part to the next. Yeah, feeder wires will get dropped down back there and I'll have to reach in, but I can always make a little reacher hook, pull the feeder wire out. I have plenty of wire to do it. Bring it to the front, do my connections here, pull the feeder wire back up through, cut it to length, solder it to the track, and I haven't had to get underneath and do anything down there. Same thing is going to be true up here on the upper level. I've left the front open so that I can see my wiring sitting here, or I may have to stand because that's up a little bit higher. Now, as far as wiring, I don't like soldering. Can do it, not very good at it, but can do it. Time consuming, fussy. So what I have found works good for me are Wago connectors. I've got a 3 connector box, and I've just ordered 2 boxes of 5 connectors. So the idea is that I'll take a 3 connector. In this case, my black bus wire comes in one, goes out the other. And then I know it's hard to see, but there's a black feeder wire comes out of the middle one. And then I can connect that to another 3-port Wago. That leaves me 2 ports open, and I can get a black wire coming out of each of those 2 ports that will then feed these 2 tracks. And I do the same thing with the red, of course. So it's just a matter of plug it in, snap it closed, and it's done. No soldering, no monkeying with screws. Are they tight enough? Do I have the wire fitted in there correctly? It's great. Now down here on the lower level, I'm going to have more than just 2 tracks. So the idea is that I will have a feeder wire coming to, right now I have a 3, but I realized, nope, that's not going to be enough. So my feeder wire is coming off from, currently it's coming off from one of these, I'm not sure the right term, I'm going to call it a bus block. I've got a feeder wire coming to it, and then gives me 4 ports or 4 terminals that I can connect feeder wires to, and that was the intent. But that's, again, screws, getting a screwdriver in there, blah, blah, blah. It's large, clumsy. Now, what I'll do is coming off from my see if I can get it here. So here's my red bus coming in and out, and then a red feeder wire coming out of the middle. That red feeder wire comes back over here, and instead of a 3 like I have it now, it'll be just a case of, I can show you how easy this is. See, I just change it. Now I can put a 5 in there. And that gives me 4 openings to run feeder wires to 4 tracks. Or one of those 4 can go to another 5. So that gives me 7 ports, 3 on the one and 4 on the new one. So very easy to expand and feed as many tracks as I want across there. Again, I'm sitting on my stool, and all my wiring is, for the most part, going to be right here in the front where I can see it easily. When I'm finished, of course, then I'll put a fascia board on here. Whether it'll be all fastened, or I'm thinking wherever I have a bunch of these connections, that block I probably will have a hinged door with a magnetic catch on the inside. So if I do have to get back in there and do some wiring adjustments or make some additions, maybe I'll eventually get to signals and stuff, then I can drop that door up face down, do my wiring, close it back up. Fairly simple. So that's where I'm at. Now, I guess I didn't really mention, I did complete the foam, just laying it on there, so I can see my space now. I've also, very minor, project. If you remember over here, I said I had a piece of foam I didn't like. I was going to make it bigger. I decided not to make it bigger, but I did change it because now I've got a square end on that, and that covers up the support board underneath. So I've got that installed. Here's a scratch-built building that I'm working on. It needs a roof, obviously, and some doors and windows, but at least now I can see how that building is going to fit in there. It gives me a place for 2 box cars to unload. I still have going to have plenty of room to have a siding so I can switch the empty boxcar out and then put a loaded boxcar in, or the other way around, whichever way that industry operates. So that's where I'm at this point. Hope you're having a great day. It's the only day you got, so enjoy it, or hope if when you're watching this you did have a great day. And I'll try to post videos every Sunday. We'll see how that works out. That sounds like a schedule. That's not too good for me. Anyway, thanks for joining me.